What if darkness wasn't just the absence of light, but a living, conscious force that observes, responds, and even obeys those who know how to listen to it? Imagine, for a moment, that what you fear when the lights go out, the silence, the emptiness, the unknown, is not the end of everything, but the beginning of something. Something ancient, pulsating, invisible to the eyes, but profoundly present. It is on this threshold between fear and power that the Son of Darkness is born, a figure who not only survived the darkness, but learned to converse with it, to understand it, to mold it according to his will. But what does it really mean to understand darkness? Is it possible to control it without being consumed by it? Have you ever felt as if darkness were watching you? Not just the surrounding gloom, but that inner shadow that moves when you close your eyes, when the world falls silent and only the sound of your own thoughts remains. Some say that it is there, in that space between fear and surrender, that true strength is revealed. What if the secret wasn't in running from the darkness, but in embracing it, understanding that it is part of us? What you are about to discover may surprise you. The story of the Son of Darkness is more than a legend or metaphor. It's a journey of power, discipline, and profound understanding of what truly exists in the shadows. From the first moment he realized that the darkness responded to his presence, something changed. The shadows ceased to be enemies. They became allies, a field of raw, living energy that could be shaped by anyone brave enough to face it head-on. It wasn't magic nor madness, but an expanded perception of reality, where light and darkness don't fight, they simply coexist. Stay with me until the end, because what lies behind this mystery is more than a story about darkness. It's a mirror, a reflection of who we are when we stop fearing what's inside us. The Son of Darkness wasn't born privileged. He was born surrounded by fear, isolation, and silences that were too long. But while everyone else fled from the night, he chose to stay, and in that profound silence, he began to listen. He discovered that darkness whispers, that it speaks in a language few understand, the language of surrender. Have you ever been through this? Those moments when everything seems to collapse, and the only way out is to venture into the unknown. It is there that darkness tests the strong, and it was there that he became who he is. While others despaired for a ray of light, he understood that true vision is born in the dark, that only those who delve into their own shadows discover what they are truly made of. Darkness, after all, is not the enemy of light. It is its guardian. It is the space where everything rests before being reborn, and whoever learns to walk through it without fear finds a power that the world rarely understands. The Son of Darkness learned to tame the invisible, to transform fear into strength, solitude into wisdom, and each step he took among the shadows brought him closer to something greater, something that goes far beyond what the eyes can see. But what he discovered inside, what really happened when the darkness answered his call, is what we're going to explore now. Because from this point on, the line between the real and the unknown begins to blur. And what comes next may change everything you think about light, fear, and power itself. The Son of Darkness walked in silence, feeling each step echo between what was real and what only his mind seemed to create. The shadows were no longer just shadows. They were presences, subtle movements, invisible breaths that guided him. And the deeper he delved into this territory where fear usually dominates, the more he realized that the true enemy was never the darkness outside, but the one that dwells within each of us. Because it is there that the truths we avoid looking at are hidden, the feelings we pretend not to feel, the pains we pretend to have overcome. Perhaps in some way you too have felt this, that moment when the world seems to leave you alone and all that remains is the weight of your own silence. Perhaps you felt fear transform into strength, even without realizing it. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. Tell us what darkness represents to you: fear, mystery, power, or perhaps a kind of peace that few understand. Each comment is like a spark of light in this space we are building together, a way of showing that even in the shadows, we are never truly alone. And if this story somehow made you reflect, if something inside you awakened upon hearing about this silent power that dwells in the darkness, then leave a like. It seems like a small gesture, but it's what keeps this message alive, reaching more people who might need to hear exactly this right now. It's a silent signal, like a wave in the shadows that says, "I understood. I felt it." And of course, if you want to continue walking down these unknown paths, where each story reveals a new fragment of power, self-knowledge, and mystery, subscribe to the channel. Here, each video is a new immersion into this universe between the real and the hidden, between light and darkness. Your presence is what gives meaning to all of this. It is what keeps this journey alive, what transforms a simple video into an encounter of ideas, emotions, and discoveries. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. Every like, every subscription, every word you leave in the comments is like another step on this path where few dare to follow. And while the Son of Darkness continues his journey through the shadows, you are also part of it, observing, feeling, understanding that there is something beautiful and powerful even in what cannot be seen, because the story isn't over yet. What's to come will reveal what really happens when darkness decides to fight back. Unlike the others, he was never afraid of the dark. While everyone ran, seeking shelter in the light, he remained there, motionless, attentive, breathing in the silence like someone listening to something too ancient to be explained. The shadows were not threats, they were mirrors. Each distorted shape, each invisible movement reflected a part of himself, a hidden truth that the world insisted on ignoring. It was in this silent connection that something began to awaken, a subtle force but impossible to contain. It was as if the darkness itself recognized him, as if it were saying, "I have always been here, waiting for you to stop running." The transformation didn't come from a scream or an act of courage, but from a simple decision: acceptance. When he stopped resisting, when he looked inside and saw that the darkness was part of his own soul, everything changed. The mindset that was once dominated by fear became sharp, lucid, almost serene, because true power is not born from control, but from surrender. Light blinds, shadows reveal, and those who have the courage to see through them begin to understand what truly moves the world and themselves. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when the Son of Darkness realized that the shadows were not enemies, he began to see behind the scenes of his own existence. Every thought, every repressed feeling took shape before him. It was like traversing an inner labyrinth, where each turn hid a revelation. In this silent territory, he discovered that fear is merely a misunderstood reflection of strength. That darkness, in fact, does not imprison, it liberates. The journey then ceased to be an escape and transformed into a return, a reunion with that which had always been there, waiting to be accepted. Comment below. This makes sense to me. It was on a silent night that everything changed. The air seemed denser, time slower, as if the universe itself awaited something. He hadn't planned anything, he was simply there, motionless, breathing in the darkness, as if conversing without words. Then it happened. A simple, almost involuntary gesture. His hand moved, his thoughts rose, and the shadow before him answered. It wasn't an illusion. The darkness stirred, as if it had understood. For a moment, fear tried to return, but it quickly dissolved before the revelation. The darkness was not merely absence, it was presence, it was consciousness. That moment, he understood that something was watching him, not with eyes, but with a vivid, profound perception that pierced him from within. The shadow seemed to learn from him, to feel what he felt, to mirror every emotion as if they were connected by a hidden truth that the world could not comprehend. It was as if the boundary between the visible and the invisible had broken. He reached out and felt, not a physical touch, but a vibration, a silent response, as if the darkness pulsed in sync with his heart. From that point on, the son of darkness understood that he was no longer alone. The shadow was not a force to be dominated, but a presence that accompanied him, observing his decisions, testing his mentality, guiding him on a journey of no return. The impact of this first encounter was immense because it revealed what had always been behind the darkness, an ancient, patient intelligence that demands neither faith nor fear, only attention. He realized that darkness feels, and that power is born from the bond between man and the invisible being that silently observes him. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this connection between him and the darkness began to reveal secrets that surpassed the limits of human understanding. What seemed like just an encounter transformed into learning, into communion, into something that defied all logic. The shadow didn't obey, it communicated, and what it began to show from that moment on would change everything. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. He realized that the shadow not only heard him but understood him. Each emotion was a word, each intention a phrase. The darkness had its own language, a subtle communication that didn't depend on sounds but on energy. When he felt anger, the surrounding environment stirred, as if the air gained weight, and the shadows rose in response. When fear touched him, the darkness retreated, timid, almost offended. It was in this contrast that he understood the hidden truth. Controlling the darkness was not a matter of power, but of harmony. Mastering the shadow meant first mastering himself. This discovery transformed everything. He understood that darkness did not serve those who wished to control it, but aligned itself with those who respected it. It was a silent, almost spiritual partnership that demanded self-awareness and emotional balance. The shadow did not accept orders, only authentic vibrations. Therefore, any inner imbalance was immediately reflected in his behavior. If his heart wavered, the darkness responded in chaos. If his mind found peace, it became malleable, obedient, alive. This is how the son of darkness began to shape his mindset differently. He stopped fighting his emotions and started listening to them. He realized that anger, fear, sadness, all these feelings had something to teach. In the depths of his soul, he understood that true mastery comes not from denial, but from understanding. And the more he knew himself, the clearer the shadow became. A profound yet revealing paradox. The darker the path, the more inner light is needed to traverse it. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because it was in this process of transformation that he began to realize that the shadow not only reacted to him, but guided him, testing his discipline and his decisions, as if preparing him for something much greater. Comment below, this makes sense to me. The nights became his training ground. There were no masters, no guides, only the sound of his own heart beating within the darkness. He sat motionless, breathing slowly, allowing the darkness to completely envelop him. It was a plunge of no return, an inner journey where every wrong thought could become an enemy. The shadows watched everything. They did not forgive imbalances. A moment of doubt, a trace of fear, was enough for the darkness to move against him, trying to swallow him like a hungry abyss. That was how he learned that power. Without control is self-destruction, that every emotion, if not understood, becomes a weapon turned inward. For hours, he remained there, speechless, motionless, feeling the weight of his own mind. The training wasn't physical, it was pure mentality, a silent battle waged between what he was and what he needed to become. With each mistake, the darkness reacted with fury, showing that brute force was nothing without balance. But when he managed to remain absolutely calm, something magical happened, the shadows became light, almost protective, molding themselves around him as if recognizing his evolution. This was the secret that few discover. Mastery is born from respect, not control. The impact of this learning was devastating and at the same time liberating. He understood that each defeat was a lesson in disguise, a revelation hidden behind the pain. True power lay not in conquering the darkness, but in coexisting with it. The journey was dangerous, but necessary. Each night transformed him, as if the darkness itself were sculpting his soul, preparing him for something greater. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because it was at this boundary between fear and understanding that he began to realize that the shadow was not merely an external force, but a living extension of his own consciousness. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. Over time, he began to realize that he didn't just need to react to the darkness, he could shape it. At first, they were small movements, subtle undulations that obeyed his will, as if the surrounding air became malleable. Then, the forms began to take on more defined contours. Human figures appeared and disappeared. Animals emerged from nowhere, lurking, observing, moving with grace and strength. Even entire weapons, made of pure darkness, materialized in his invisible hands, ready for any challenge. But what truly surprised him was not the form, but the sensation. Each shadow carried a pulse, a minimal consciousness, an energy of its own that reflected not only what he wanted, but also who he was. With each creation, he learned more about himself. Feeling the rage of a figure he molded, or the ferocity of an animal made of pure shadow, was to feel fragments of his own soul being projected into the world. Each gesture was a decision, each intention a lesson in balance, focus, and control. The darkness ceased to be merely an environment, becoming a laboratory of transformation. He experimented, erred, learned, and each mistake brought revelations that traversed his mind and reached the depths of his spirit. The mindset that formed was unlike anything the world could teach. It was practical, direct, intense, an alchemy between fear, desire, and consciousness. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because in this creative process, he discovered that the true power of the shadow lies not only in shaping it, but in feeling the impact each form provokes, in understanding that each manifestation is a living extension of his own essence. And the more he advanced in this mastery, the clearer the connection became between him and what many consider mere emptiness. It was more than power. It was transformative self-knowledge. It was a journey. It was hidden truth revealing its inner workings. Comment below. This makes sense to me. He finally realized that all the strength, all the skill acquired over the endless nights was useless in dominating the darkness. The true secret lay not in the intensity of control, nor in the precision of forms or the complexity of movements. It lay in surrender, in the complete surrender to that which had always been there, silent, observing, waiting for him to stop fighting. Each gesture of resistance, each attempt to impose his brute will on the shadow, revealed limits and awakened aggressive responses. But when he stopped fighting, when he allowed the darkness to exist as it was, something changed irrevocably. The shadow, not only responded to his presence, it aligned itself with his essence. He understood that comprehending the darkness required a mindset few possess, realizing that power is not born from force, but from acceptance. Each fear transformed into learning. Each emotion felt to its fullest. Each decision made consciously reinforced this hidden truth. It was a lesson about balance, about inner mastery, about the journey of those who seek real impact without losing their essence. Light blinds by controlling, shadow reveals by allowing, and in that space he found a clarity that would never have arisen in direct confrontation. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because it was in this moment of surrender that he began to discover the crucial point of transformation. Darkness is not an enemy, not an obstacle, not emptiness. It is a mirror, an extension of the soul itself, and only by accepting it completely does power manifest in its totality. Every inner decision, every silent learning connects to the backstage of consciousness, showing that absolute control is not an external conquest, but an internal evolution. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. Over time, he began to realize that the power of darkness came with a silent but relentless price. Every movement he shaped, every form he created, left an invisible trace within him. The more he surrendered, the more he felt the shadow become part of his own flesh and thought. What was once dominion became fusion. The boundary between self and power began to disappear, and he realized that the more control he exerted, the more his own identity dissolved into darkness. It was a fragile balance. One wrong step, and what he had built could turn into silent destruction, corroding his essence without fanfare. The transformation was intense, but dangerous. He felt his mind expanding, his senses sharpening, a profound understanding of the hidden truth of things. But at the same time, each emotion left. Invisible scars, anger, loneliness, fear, everything, took on a living form within the shadow, and each choice had a direct impact on who he still was. The journey became a constant test of mindset and discipline, showing that power without balance is not liberation, but dissolution. He began to understand that there are decisions that shape not only the external world, but the inner workings of the soul itself, revealing truths that few would dare to confront. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because it was at this point of tension that he realized the true challenge wasn't expanding control, but keeping his own essence intact while navigating forces that feel, learn, and respond. It is on this fine line between power and identity that the greatest revelations arise, and where each step becomes a choice that echoes far beyond the visible in the deepest corners of consciousness. Comment below, this makes sense to me. At the peak of his journey, he finally realized something that no training, no lesson, no experience could have anticipated. The shadow no longer needed gestures, commands, or words. Every movement that previously required absolute concentration now flowed with the simple intention of his mind. It was as if the darkness had merged with his own consciousness, becoming a living extension of his being, a direct reflection of every thought, every emotion, every decision made with mindfulness. The impact of this discovery was not only physical but profound, almost philosophical. The shadow did not obey him, it existed with him, and through it he could touch, shape, and influence everything around him in a silent, invisible, yet inexorable way. He felt the power pulsing in the veins of his own mind, each heartbeat reflected in subtle movements of darkness that arose, receded, or attacked according to its inner will. The protection was not mere defense. It was an extension of his perception, an anticipation of dangers, a silent reading of the world's inner workings. The shadow not only responded, it thought, reacted, learned from him and through him. And the more conscious he remained, the clearer the thin line became between the self and what he had created. They were two bodies, two forces, a single presence that shaped reality and perception simultaneously. Each step he took, each breath, reverberated in an invisible but profound impact on everything that existed around him. Now he understood something that could never be conveyed through ordinary words. It is not the darkness that obeys me, it is the world that fears what it reveals. The shadow was neither threat nor weapon, it was revelation. It revealed what was hidden, exposed the weaknesses and strengths of everything and everyone around, and showed the truth about himself. It was as if reality itself had to bow before the silent understanding he had achieved. Each manifestation of the shadow was simultaneously protection and judgment, creation and destruction, and he was beginning to understand the weight and responsibility of this power. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because in this complete fusion between mind and shadow, revelations emerge that go far beyond common understanding. He realized that true transformation lies not only in controlling what seems external, but in aligning one's own mindset with the forces that govern the invisible world, behind the scenes of being, where every decision, every emotion, and every choice leaves indelible traces on one's very essence. The journey to this point showed that darkness does not submit, it is not dominated. It reflects, amplifies, and reveals what is deepest within those who dare to cross it. It is in this state that he begins to feel the real impact of each thought. The shadow is not merely an extension of the body, it is an extension of the soul, and its absolute power is born from the awareness that each action and each decision resonates on levels that few can perceive. The world around him reacts not to brute force, but to the truth he carries, to the perception he shapes, to the silent revelations that the shadow projects. Each instant lived in this state of complete fusion is simultaneously dangerous and liberating, because it reveals how much power can transform, impact, and redefine reality itself. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. Over time, he realized that everything that had previously seemed like effort and discipline was now transforming into something almost natural, almost inevitable. The shadows were not merely tools, extensions, or reflections. They were a living presence, a silent consciousness that pulsed in harmony with his every thought and emotion. Every gesture of the mind reverberated in the invisible world, and every decision reverberated in forces that few would dare to confront. He had achieved something that transcends simple control. He had reached a point where the shadow no longer responded to commands, but to choice. It was no longer he who sought to dominate it. It was the shadow that recognized him, that decided to unite with his essence, to become the guardian of his presence, a natural extension of his being. The sensation was paradoxical, absolute power and humility coexisting, strength and balance dancing side by side, consciousness and instinct fused. He could feel every fragment of the shadow, perceive its silent will, and at the same time realize that this bond was delicate, sacred. Each form that emerged from nothing, each invisible movement that shaped reality, was the expression of a rare harmony, the balance between the human and the abyss. What would once have been considered dominion or slavery was now partnership and choice. He no longer needed to fear the darkness, nor did the darkness need to fear him. The fusion was total but conscious, powerful but purposeful. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because it is at this point of intimacy with the unknown that the hidden truth of transformation is revealed. He is not merely someone who has learned to control invisible forces. He is the reflection of a mindset that few achieve, of a journey that blends learning, discipline, and courage, where each inner decision shapes not only his own identity, but also the impact he has on everything around him. The shadows have become part of his consciousness, an extension of his feelings, living projections of his perception. Each instant in this state of fusion is an exercise in self-knowledge, a silent test of discipline and power, showing that true mastery is not born from imposition, but from respect and understanding of what is greater than ourselves. They say he commands the shadows, but the truth is that now they have chosen him. There is no imposition, no battle. There is harmony, recognition, absolute balance. He became the guardian of the darkness, not because he dominates it, but because he understands what it represents, because he managed to harmonize his own humanity with the abyss that previously seemed only to consume. Every step he takes, every breath, every thought resonates in the invisible world, leaving traces of power, silent revelations, and truths that few would dare to confront. The impact of this connection is profound. It is the understanding that power, when aligned with consciousness, becomes something more than force. It becomes legacy, transformation, a presence that echoes far beyond the visible. Comment below, I'm on this journey too. If you've made it this far, it means you've truly immersed yourself in this journey with me, felt the weight of the revelations, and realized how each layer of darkness can transform not only the observer, but also those who allow themselves to feel, understand, and connect with it. This content was created precisely for those seeking to understand the impact of what we normally ignore, for those who wish to explore the inner workings of their own thoughts and essence. And if you want to continue on this path, subscribing to the channel makes all the difference. It's not just a number or a formality. It's a way to keep this experience alive, to ensure that more profound reflections and transformative moments reach you, guiding your journey and consistently expanding your mindset. If during the video you felt any resonance, any insight that touched your perception, or simply noticed something that previously went unnoticed, leave a comment saying, I'm with you until the end. I want to know that you were present in every moment of this immersion, that you followed the evolution, the challenges, and the revelations that arose at each stage of the journey. And of course, if this experience truly resonated with you, leaving a like helps maintain this energy as a silent record of our connection and the impact these reflections can have on the lives of those who receive them. There's a video here that complements this topic. Click on it and continue watching. There, we'll explore even more layers, reveal nuances that remain hidden, and bring new perspectives on how darkness, when understood, becomes a powerful and transformative ally. It's an opportunity to continue advancing on this path of discovery, understanding even better the inner workings of our own minds, the decisions that shape our essence, and the impact each choice can have. So, if you feel this journey is worthwhile, join me in the next video and continue this experience in a profound, intense, and reflective way.